Where is the translator? Jahangir?
It's going to be in English.
Aha, right. They are all English speaking people? Very good, to save time as well, huh? MashaAllah. So everything is ready for question answer? Please. आ जाएं आप साथ हमारे to help me with references in case. Please. Wa alaikum salam.
The first question is from Mr. John Cooper, who is a Christian. Mr. John Cooper.
From Mauritius?
No, he's a guest of Mauritius.
Very fine.
I'm from across the road.
Right, okay.
We have many
I was
honorary...
given to understand that this meeting is with Mauritians. Is it right?
Yes, we have many honorary Mauritians
So-
today.
There are people, Mauritius people, or Mauritian people living across the road? Please. Your question. That's right.
Mr. Cooper says, as a keen gardener myself, I am interested in the development of improved species of plants. We now have the prospect of genetic engineering of plants and seeds. Does Hazur have a view as to whether this represents an interference with the natural world in which we live?
It may interfere, but not necessarily. As far as the improvement of the characters which have been created by God is concerned, that can take place in two ways. Number one, artificially producing some qualities by crossbreeding, genetic crossbreeding, the effect of which is not fully known. And the genetic engineering presents a grave danger in that area, because apparently in the first generation you see the difference which is required, but what will happen to the next generation and the next are unknown quantities and unknown qualities. So I think this may eventually result in very grave consequences. But overall, to improve the quality of a plant in which genetic changes are not controlled, that is of course a human exercise which we observe from thousands of years past. And with the passage of time, by crossbreeding, you can achieve such qualities which were not known beforehand. And I approve of that fully, because the human experience of last many thousands of years has put its stamp onto validity and the goodness of this attempt. So this is my advice to you as well. Thank you.
The next question is from Mr. Robert Turnbull, who is British but married to a Mauritian Ahmadi lady. He asks a long question. The Bible's statement that man is created in God's image is probably the source of the Western idea of God as a kindly old man wandering the universe. The Quran states that man was formed from clay, into which God's Spirit was breathed. Could Hazur please comment on the attributes of God as you may consider mankind to reflect, and those which we should aspire to?
First of all, I very much regret to say that the Western understanding, if it is the Western understanding, which I doubt, it could be the understanding of a few people, but could not be dubbed as Western understanding. That is not correct. The understanding which he gave me as the Western understanding based on scriptures is not correct. That means somebody has miserably failed to understand the scriptures. When Jesus Christ said man is made in the image of God, what is the image of God? The image of God is not physical, it's not material. So those qualities of God, which are His attributes, is only referring to such qualities. And the attributes of God, as we know, are understood to be good all over the world. Any attribute which you may call divine has a quality of dignity about it. So such is the expectation of Jesus Christ, of his followers, that you should represent God. People should see the face of God in your face, in your behavior. That is what he meant. And this exactly is the verdict of the Quran. There is not the slightest difference between the two in this regard. Thank you.
The next questioner is Jahangir Haq Khan, who is an Ahmadi.
Oh, right. Another Jahangir Khan. When you said Jahangir Khan, this Jahangir Khan said, no, that's not my question. Please, it's yours. Huh?
Many a scientist has discovered rules, laws, and equations that describe the behavior of natural processes. For example, the laws of physics. When Allah created the universe, did he design these rules as we have discovered? What mechanism was used from your understanding?
I think he's quite right that even before the creation, the blueprint was ready. Because every wise creator has a blueprint on his table of whatever he is going to create. And if he is really wise, then the blueprint should take care of every future development which has not yet taken place. So similarly, I believe, and I think there is no gainsaying this, that God, in his wisdom, had the blueprint of all the creation. The difference is that the human engineer misses a few things here and there because he cannot fully realize what may happen in the future, not only with regards to his design, whether he will be able to complete the design to perfection or not, or whether design is completed to perfection or not, but also he does not know the other interfering agents which may occur in future from an area of which he has no knowledge. But God is perfect in the sense that his blueprint has to be perfect as he is, and also he knows all the concomitant factors surrounding the plan of creation which may have a role to play in molding its course. So that also is taken into account. And as such, we observe that there is no flaw in natural laws. The proof lies in the study of nature as such. Many a great scientist has tried to find a flaw between some sets of laws and another set of laws, and they failed to find any flaw. They are in complete accordance with each other. The laws of nature we are referring to are innumerable. It's impossible to count them or even to visualize how many there are. Because the more we study the laws of nature, more we discover underneath a world of which we had no knowledge previously. And it goes on, never to end. So the study of nature, whether it is from the known visible world to the invisible world which lies beneath, or it is across the cosmos to the visible world which lies beyond us. The same laws of congruity and perfect accord with each other govern both these worlds. How could it have happened by chance? If the creation was a chance happening, then chances do clash with each other. And because there is no such thing in the universe, so we have to admit the claim that the designer is perfect and nothing which he has created come into clash with other things which he has created. The clashes we observe are also designed. They have a purpose to serve. Nothing happens without purpose. So this is, I hope, the answer to your question, and I hope that you understand the whole thing. Thank you.
Next questioner is Mr. Arshad Banu, who is British of Mauritian parents.
Yes.
According to the Quran, is there a difference between the brain and the mind?
Most certainly. There is not only a difference according to the Quran, but according to all knowledgeable scientists who deal with the subject of brain and its working. There has to be a divide between the mind and the brain. Brain, as we understand from the scientific study of people who have served all their lives in trying to fathom the secrets of brain, is just like a computer. Although this computer is so far advanced that it defeats the attempts of scientists to understand how this computer came to be born and how it developed in perfect harmony. There is so much about the brain which is still unknown. But the computer does not operate itself. That is the problem, which has been addressed by many brain specialists. There are among them surgeons who operated on brain for the cure of some epileptics. And the verdict of these scientists is that we are amazed to discover that the thing which operates has no specific space in the brain. It's no area, physical area of brain where we can locate that something which operates. You remove a large portion of that part of brain which you think is responsible for certain actions, and the actions can continue to be operated. How could it have happened? So the modern study of brain has revealed this further, that the right lobe and the left lobe have specific functions. But when you remove a part of one lobe, the function is transferred to the other part. How it happens? Who does it? They don't know. But they know that the operation continues after a temporary break. In the meantime, the center of operation shifts. That cannot be located in physical terms. So this is what they call mind in scientific term. This is what we call a soul in the religious terms. So whatever has the ordering or the driving seat, that is the mind or the soul. Whatever is operated upon is a computer or a car, whatever you call it. Still it proves that there is something beyond our understanding which people refer to as Atma, as soul, as brain, as mind, whatever name they give it. It has a consciousness of its own. Next, please.
The next question is from Mr. Vin Fulcho, who is a Hindu-born Mauritian.
He is a born Mauritian.
Yes, and his faith is Hindu-born.
Right.
He's born a Hindu. He starts off with a
In
statement.
Mauritius there are different brands of Hindus. Largely I think there are Arya Samajis and also Hindus from south of India which have a different cult of their own, distinct cult. Which cult do you belong to? You know, I say. A nondescript. All right. Or freelance, should we say. Huh? Right.
He starts with a statement. My faith is dependent on how I understand myself as a human being.
That's right.
And how I live in the world given to me. He asks, do you have any philosophical view on the above statement?
On the statement he has just made.
Yes.
Please sit down. This is like he himself is a freelance, his statement is a freelance statement. It's very difficult to pinpoint the crux of the matter which he has presented. Because, like you, there are many individuals in the world, billions of them. Each one has his own view of himself. So just to have one's own view of oneself is no criterion for its being right. That is the major problem which I find with your statement. Because if you are right in judging yourself, why can't any other person sitting in this hall not be right? Or any person in the world, anywhere. So that is the shifting platform of truth, whatever it is. So we cannot determine it but from the vantage point of God if He exists. And because we believe He does exist, so for us there is no problem. But those who do not believe in the existence of God, their problem will always remain unresolved. They will never be able to judge what man is, what his nature is made for, what the purpose of life is, and so on and so forth. So the one area which is empty in you is that of God. Try to discover the possibilities of the existence of God. If you find those possibilities to be true, then that is the only answer with which you can fill your emptiness within. But if you don't find, then I can't help you. Thank you.
The next question is from Mr. James Hilton, who is a British Muslim and a creative director.
Creative director?
Sort of a designer sort of thing.
A designer.
Oh, that I know you very well. Yes, please, thank you.
He asks, does a person have a predefined destiny, or is everyone's future unwritten?
Both are correct. Only you should understand what destiny is. Destination, predestination, and so on and so forth are questions which relate to the correct understanding of the grand plan of Allah's things. If you understand His grand plan, then you will realize that the laws of nature we were just referring to are also a part of plan. For instance, the simplest illustration is that of fire. You poke your finger into fire and it will burn. And study the nature of water. It extinguishes fire and absorbs all its heat. So these two things are laws of nature, which are destiny as well. You cannot change the destiny of fire, you cannot change the destiny of water, and you cannot escape the consequences of playing foul with either fire or with water. You must suffer the consequence. So this is a sort of destiny which you can never change. Now, as to what might happen to you or what may happen might have happened to you in the past or what may have happened may happen to you in the future, these are the two areas in which the first belongs to your behavior of co-relationship with the laws of nature. The second is unpredictable, because there are so many things which may happen to you, to your brain, your health, for which you yourself will be responsible, which may change the relationship, your relationship with the laws of nature. That part can only be known to God, which lies in the future. But it does not mean that the knowledge of God will create something for you. His knowledge of the future is very much like his knowledge of the past. So whatever happened in the past, you hold yourself responsible for that. So Allah's knowledge of your past does not mean that He is responsible for your behavior in the past. Exactly the same way, His knowledge of the future is not causative. It is because it will so happen and He knows it. So in this manner you can understand the overall plan of destiny. Destiny are the laws of nature known to us or unknown to us, which govern the faith of everything which has been created. Among those laws, some are understood by us and some are not as yet understood. Those laws which are not as yet understood, they also play a role in things. So the understanding of destiny becomes very confusing and very difficult to fathom. But Allah knows. So His knowledge is called predestination. But in that, the thing which moves within the orbit of its creation is itself responsible for caring for the laws or not caring for the laws. The difference between human life and the life of the matter, that also has a life. According to the Holy Quran, everything has a life, although it is not visible to us. Life, according to the Quran, is a progressive thing of awareness. It sinks into something beyond our comprehension when we speak of matter. There it takes the form of laws of nature. It assumes an awareness when it enters the phase of life as we know. So talking of both these areas, the material life occupies a large area where we do not know what it is made of, why it is behaving in a certain manner. But it also has no option but to act according to the will of God. So all animals before us, inclusive, they do not possess an option. They follow the laws of nature automatically, as though automatically. The beasts of jungle eat the flesh because this is inbred into them. It's no cruelty on their part. If they do not eat flesh, they will do it to their own disadvantage and they may die. It will not be counted as a piety on their part, nor the eating of flesh will be counted as a crime on their part. So this is their destiny. It's very understandable and very clear. But the destiny of man becomes very complicated because options are involved there. Volition is involved. Man is given choices. He can do this and he can do that. And whatever course he takes creates a new destiny for him. So although he is commanded by destiny, he can make his own destiny. That is the strange thing about the creation of man. And this complicates the issue of destiny with regards to the acts of humans and how they influence his life and the life of others. Now, this is another part which further complicates the matter. Humans do not only influence their own life and life of their dear ones, but they also influence the life of others, even of those to whom they are not even remotely connected. A bad, irresponsible driver can hit a car and cause irreparable damage to property and life. Now, this is another example of the areas which are very, very confusing regarding destiny. Man commands his destiny in a manner that he is also helpless. One is going on the road and is hit by a car, no fault of his, but he will suffer from the consequences of somebody else's folly. So in this way, the entire mankind is connected and interrelated in areas where another form of destiny takes over. And that destiny is that man should progress by learning from his follies. So the thing which you refer to as an accident, in which a poor innocent suffers, innocent person suffers, is not useless either. Because if such accidents had not taken place in life, life would not progress to a better form of civilization and greater comfort. So you learn from your accidents. The result is that sometimes this accident is because of bad designing on the part of the makers of cars. Sometimes they could have been avoided because of some flaws which appear in the steering or in other systems. So the improvement begins to take place in all these areas immediately. And the people who suffer, the doctors attend to that suffering and try to improve the quality of life by suggesting new means of medical care and surgical care and so on and so forth. So everything that happens in this world begins to improve the overall shape of man's life. So people may think that this destiny which I am referring to is useless, but it is not useless. Remove it from the beginning and we will return back to our original state of lack of civilization, lack of scientific progress and so on and so forth. So I hope this much should be sufficient, because the question is very complicated. Not for me, I hope, but the answer is complicated. Thank you. Please.
Next question is from Mrs. D. Hall, who is a Mauritian.
Mrs. D.
Hall.
Over there, yes?
She asked, how do you cope with a teenager's change of attitude and faith?
You can't cope when they begin to take place. Before that, you can cope with them. If you bring up your children in a manner that they are at one with you, they feel a part of the family, as against the outside society which pulls them towards them. So that is the time to develop a relationship of mutual trust and love, so that the house or the home is the heaven for the children. Such children never grow to that state of mind which is referred to in the question. Whatever happens to them, they'll always turn back to their parents, their sisters, their brothers, etc., for succor and help and for seeking comfort. So the questioner has raised the question, the answer to which is, it's too late. When this begins to happen, then you can't do anything. You should do it when it was still time for you to do it. Thank you.
Mrs. Nabila Jawahir.
Nabila Jawahir.
Jawahir.
Jawahir or Jawahir?
Jawahir.
Okay.
Excuse me.
Some Jawahiri insist that they are Jawahir, not Jawahir.
My mother is Jawahir.
That's okay.
A related question. She asks, is physical punishment against children to stop them misbehaving allowed in Islam?
It depends on the wisdom of those who exercise that punishment. It may be right, it may be wrong. It may be cruel, it may be benign in nature. But it all depends on how you deliver this punishment. If you're taken over by your own passion and your own sense of self-respect, you feel hurt when the child commits a folly, then you're taken over by your passion in a manner that the child, who is always an intelligent person, even the stupid children have that much intelligence, they understand that you're doing it for your sake, as a revenge against the person, whether be it a boy or a girl. They will never benefit from that punishment. They will slyly develop a sense of vengeance against you, against your superficial authority, which they cannot rebel against because they are helpless, poor wretches. But when they move out into the society and gain their own independent position, then these small factors of irritation which kept building up in their person become a psychic problem for them. And then they rebel against the parents. But if you punish your child in a manner that he sees the pain in your eyes, you suffer more than the child does. It's impossible for the child to ignore that pain. Next time he will see to it that he does not cause any pain to you in future. This punishment, even if it is material punishment, bodily punishment, will not hurt his soul. And he will benefit from it and will reform. So it's all a question of wisdom, matter of understanding. This is why in my sermons I am trying to improve the wisdom of the entire Jamaat, whichever country they belong to, with the help of the Quranic verses, to tell them that wisdom is from God. It is not a result of education. So sink deeper into yourself and find the source of that wisdom, like Tao did, or like Confucius did, and so many Chinese so-called philosophers did. You have to delve deeper into your own self to strike the force of wisdom which lies within you. And this exercise can be done by every person. So whenever they try to control their children, they should have reference to this inner wisdom of their self. And with the result of that, I'm quite certain no punishment, if it is necessary, will be destructive to the psyche of the child. Otherwise, if you do it only to appease your own passions of vengeance and so on and so forth, they will always produce destructive results. Thank you.
The next question is from Penny Herdawa.
From you? Yes, please. Please.
She asks two questions.
Good.
The first one, why is it forbidden for Muslims to eat pork?
Yes.
And the second, is it possible for a Muslim to practice meditation?
Meditation. This is exactly what I was talking about. Meditation is very important. Meditation, but I'll turn to that later. First, the pork. The question why it is forbidden for Muslims to eat pork should have been asked first from the Jewish people. Why pork was forbidden by God to the Jewish people, and why it should have remained forbidden in Christianity, because I do not find a single reference by Jesus Christ who says that although pork was forbidden before, I permit you to start eating pork. There is not a single reference. So the Judaic teaching should have continued undeterred. So I believe that Christians have no right to start eating pork, while Jesus never did. Study the entire New Testament, including all the apocryphal literature around it, and you will be surprised to find that there is not a single reference which speaks of Jesus ever having eaten pork. Although we know that he committed swines to be drowned and vanish from existence, but he never pleaded eating of pork. The history of this religious history, which covers the people who govern the whole world, this proves that there has to be some wisdom in this. Whether you understand it or not, that's a different question. But there has to be wisdom. So Islam, when it continues with that, gives it a further support. The previous teaching was wise. I have tried to understand the reason, although it is just my understanding, and I may not be right, I may not be wrong, either way, but I think the animal which is known as swine has two distinct characters, and by prohibiting eating of pork, you registered a protest against those characters. The two characters of swines which are very obvious, scientifically provable. Number one, normally it is not a carnivorous animal. It eats vegetables, and all the crops which it destroys are vegetative growth. But when its own kith and kin dies, it begins to eat their flesh. Now this is a habit which is not found elsewhere in the entire animal kingdom. Even lions, even wolves do not touch their dead ones. Whether they are offsprings or other wolves, they will never touch their flesh because they are dead. But they can eat other dead animals in their corpses which do not belong to their family, their species. So this, I believe, has to be the reason to register a protest against certain animal habits that God forbade us to eat the flesh of pork. And the second is homosexuality. Among all the animals, pig stands out for its habit of homosexuality. And because we know what happened to the people of Lot before, there has to be some protest registered against this habit, and this is registered in the form of the flesh of pig. If you eat it, you may be influenced in a manner which you may not know, but your habits may change. So this we observe in the present world to be true as well, unfortunately. Right? Thank you. The second question. The second part of your question is about
Meditation.
meditation. That in fact I have already answered. To meditate is an attempt to reach the source of your inner wisdom and inner truth. There is no other purpose of meditation which can be referred to as meaningful other than this one. So Islam also promotes meditation, and the Quran repeatedly refers to human attempts to delve deeper into their own selves and to find out the evidence of existence of God from within them. So whatever the ultimate result of meditation is, in fact it always leads to the reality of God. That is why I have studied all these religions which emphasize meditation, particularly the Chinese religions. All are the sages which exercise meditation ultimately reached God. And they just did not refer to any truth later on. From then on, they started speaking of the existence of God, of a conscious being which came into contact with them, not just as a feeling, but as an outside reality. So of that I have given enough evidence in the book. You have got it here? In the book which I have been referring to, which has already been published now and will be made available for all the intelligence of the world who want to have a copy of that. So I hope you will also like to have a copy of this. Have you got a copy?
We are going to
Sure.
do it.
Yeah. I'll show you. This is the original, not the print of the book which is going to be printed in its final shape. It is a part of the first few copies which are produced digitally, and the quality of the paper is also rather poor. But they had to do it because some intellectuals of United States required this for giving their comments on this book, which in a meeting which is going to be held on the 24th of June. So they had very little time at their disposal, so it is for their sake that we had these digital copies printed. But the real copies are to be ready within the next few days, and then they will flood the world market, inshallah. Already we have received orders of 150,000 copies. So when they are distributed, it all depends on what stir they create, if at all any. And then, according to the comments of the people who have read it, I hope we will find new market for this book. Where is it? I'll just show you, how it looks like. But get ready for a concentrated reading. It needs concentration right from the word go to the end. Each chapter is divided into such subjects. This is the book in the finished form. The name is Revelation, Rationality, Knowledge and Truth. A subject in which all humans are interested nowadays. I have dealt with all possible issues relating to revelation, rationality, knowledge and truth. So I hope if you muster your forces to have a concentrated reading right from the beginning, you will not remain unrewarded. And I hope after a while you'll begin to enjoy this reading as well. So when are you expecting it? In the next few days?
Next few days.
Muzaffar told me that I think it should be ready within next week.
I see.
Yes. So get ready for distributing them to all of them who are interested. Right? You are, I know. You will be interested, eh? Right. Please.
Hazur, we have 14 more questions.
Yes, I can answer them, inshallah. No problem.
The next one is from Mr. Kalim or Kareem.
You want me to be brief in my answers?
I'm just informing you, Hazur.
Warning me. Not informing me. Yes, please.
Mr. Kareem, who is a Muslim. He asks 3 questions.
Good.
1. What is the procedure for a Muslim to obtain a wife? Secondly,
It's good. No, there's nothing laughable. It's a very good question.
the correct procedure.
Correct procedure, that's right. Yes.
And number 2, why are there so many
Elan kar de.
Could you read that out?
Yes. This announcement is to be made regarding a car which is blocking the passage of a neighbor. I hope it's not your passage. But anyway, a protest is made and we must see to it that it is removed immediately, please.
Yeah, it's a Peugeot, registration G for Golf, 734 AN for Norman, M for Mr. A red car. It has rolled down the hill and collided into another car and blocking the road. Can the driver please remove it? Now it's a red Peugeot G734 ANM.
The ladies already started leaving. Good. That's all. Please.
Second question. Why are there so many...
No, first ask the first question. After I have answered it, then you read the second question, please. The first question is regarding the best procedure or the correct procedure for a Muslim to search for a wife. I believe the answer to this question is applicable to all the people of the world. And it does not only confine to the Muslims. The criterion is given by the Holy Prophet of Islam, which speaks of the person's religious views. They should be given importance. If somebody marries into a family whose religious views are contrary to the religious views of the person and his family, then such a marriage is always likely to end up in disaster. Not only for the two families or the husband and wife, but particularly for the children which are born. So the Holy Quran Prophet warns, if a man belongs to any faith, and in this respect, atheism is also a faith. Atheists should marry atheists, because both will be free to do whatever they like. And religious people of whatever denomination they be should marry into their own denomination. The second is mentioned as kufr, that is the compatibility in your views, your likings, your wishes and so on and so forth, which are outside the domain of religion as well, outside the domain of religion. Now this compatibility is ignored many a time, and the first part is also ignored many a time with disastrous results. People go for money. People go for family backgrounds and the so-called greatness of the families they want to marry into. And they think they will attain greatness by marrying into great families. This is false. They never attain anything. The greatness lies within the man and within the woman, and if they behave ideally to each other, if they are compatible to each other in every sense, that is their greatness. And the children they bear will have a bright future. So this is the advice which I render you if you are searching for a wife for yourself. Is that right? Thank you.
I think the two last questions are related. I shall ask both together.
Both of them, right?
Why are there so many different sections of Muslims? And is the Ummah strong enough in Islam?
Why there are sections? Because they must have deviated so far away from the original source of their religion, which is the Quran and the conduct of the Prophet. As long as the two sources of religion remained intact, as if they were just two names of a single entity, there was no division in the Ummah of Islam in those early days. All the followers of the Holy Prophet were united into one, despite their differences of opinions. They were natural. Every man has his own opinion. But he sacrificed his personal opinion on the altar of what he believed to be a divine teaching. So he did not care much for his personal opinion, and this created the Ummah as a single entity. And because God is one, so those who believe in God have to be one. And they must express the belief of their unity in their behavior as a people. Unfortunately, what you observe in the world of Islam today is quite contrary to the image which I am presenting to you. So they must have been wrong. Their ideology could not be wrong, the original ideology I mean, because the same ideology of the Quran and the Sunnah produced a united Ummah in the past, which had all the potentials of progress. Now, because they have moved away from that oneness, it shows their folly, not that of the original teaching. And as such, they are suffering the consequences. There are 1 billion or more, but all scattered, all disjointed, working against each other and working against the interest of the humanity at large. So this is a very unfortunate situation, but we have to admit this is it. Thank you. Both your questions are answered? Right. Good.
The next question is from Mr. Michael Nonahan, who is a Christian.
Mr. Michael, yes?
He, he asks two questions on the Prophet Abraham. First of all, what is Islam's relationship with Abraham?
Abraham is held in highest esteem among all the past prophets by Islam. And Abraham is taken to have created a revolution in the world of religion, whereby his dedication to God and its sincerity is going to guide, was meant to guide the future of the entire world. He had two lines of progeny. one beginning from Isaac and the other beginning for Ishmael. About both, the Bible gives a positive verdict that the progeny of both will be special and blessed. So in the first part, up to the time of the Holy Prophet of Islam, the first part of the prophecy got fulfilled completely. Ishmael did not play any role in the destiny of mankind until that time, except for being the forefather of the Holy Prophet of Islam. So when the Holy Prophet appeared, then the second phase of these biblical prophecies began to be unfolded. And this is what we see today. The entire world lies in its destiny at the feet of the Jews, the Christians, and the Muslims. If these three religious forces unite, the rest of the mankind would not mean anything in comparison to their influence over the world. So this is how we hold Abraham in our beliefs as the father of the future of mankind. With the passage of time, we believe in the end only a correlationship between these three major religious forces will determine the future of mankind. Thank you.
Hazur, the second question relates to a quote from the Bible,
Yes.
from Genesis, and he asked, what do you understand from the following? Abraham believed God, and God accounted it to him for righteousness. He asked, what do you understand?
It's very clear and simple. You don't need any explanation. Is it by you? Again? This question? Yes. You see, God only cares for righteousness in man, not about his blood relationship or with other worldly gains in any area of human gains. If a man is righteous, even if he is very poor, very simple, God would see to the righteousness of the man and would care for him as such. The other things become immaterial, because ultimately God is righteous. Ultimately God is truth. So what he cares for is righteousness and truth. And this is illustrated in the form of a biblical story about Moses. It's made very clear from that story that once Moses was passing by a shepherd who was busy washing his clothes, cleaning his, taking the thorns out of his feet, etc., and cleaning his clothes, and picking lice from his shirt and things. And at the same time, he was busy talking to God. And what he was saying attracted Moses' attention, and he stopped to listen to what he was saying. He was saying, "Oh God, if I have you, I'll take thorns out of your feet, and I'll see to it that no lice ever bother you again. I'll pick out each lice and kill it, and I'll clean and wash your clothes and make you very clean and dainty and beautiful." When Moses heard this, he lost his temper. He said, "Oh, filthy this and that. What right have you got to insult God with these lowly ideas?" At that time, God spoke to Moses. He said, "What right did you have to interfere between me and my servant? I was enjoying this talk because it spoke from the inner truth of that person, whatever it was. He was so true, so honest, so loving. And that is what I care for. So he rejected the greatness of Moses as compared to the simplicity and honesty of that small person. This is what God always cares for. Righteousness and sincerity in persons. If you cultivate that, then you know how to get closer to God. There is no other way. Thank you.
The next question is from Mr. Brian Heath.
Yes, please.
If one chooses to convert to Islam, do they have to change their name to an Islamic name?
Not necessarily.
And that was
It all depends on what names do they possess. If the names have a flavor of idolatry about them, then they must be changed, not otherwise. All the names of the Arabian people who became Muslims remained as such, except for those names which had that idolatrous sense. If their names, had some sense of idol worship in them, then they had to be changed, and they were changed, not otherwise. In the Christian world today, in the West, the names have no such thing at all, to my knowledge. They are given to people even without thinking why they are given to people. Mr. Woodward, Mr. this and that. No meaning is emphasized, but just the names are given after streets, after trees, after things, after material objects, and so on and so forth. So these names should not be changed. They should be kept as such. But if in addition to that, somebody would like to have some name which speaks of his being a servant of God, then I always welcome this additional change, additional name to a previous name. Sometimes people who convert to Islam insist that their name should be changed. And what I do normally is that I look at the alphabets of their names, each part of the name, how it begins, and give a name which according to them is Muslim, which normally prevails among these Muslims, beginning with that alphabet. So they don't have to change their initials. And again, if they require me to add something to it, I do that. But it is entirely optional, not essential. Thank you.
Accident में कोई injury नहीं हुई है
हाँ?
Accident में कोई injury
Alhamdulillah, the news is that although the accident appeared to be very grave, but no one is injured. Good. Huh?
The following question is from three full-time students, Mauritian full-time students. They are Shehzad Banu, Mohammed Subrati, and Azad Hussain Bakas.
Where are they? Please sit, mashallah. Please sit down. Yes. Right, please.
They ask, if Islam promotes equality between the sexes, why are there no female Maulana?
No females?
Maulana, I think the missionaries.
Maulana. Maulana.
Female Maulanas? There are many female Maulanas, but they don't know. Among the ladies sitting over there, I know many ladies who are well versed in Islam, and they are worthy of being called Maulanas, but the word Maulana is only applicable to men. That is why they are not called Maulanas. But actually they are Maulanas. Now, he may be referred to as Maulana, but his wife is more educated in Islam. She's a gold medalist in Islamic studies, but she's not referred to as Maulana. So all her qualities of knowledge are transferred to him. So there are Maulanas in essence, but such girls and ladies are not referred to as Maulanas. Now, why are you interested in Maulana girls? Only, it's just incidental, please. No?
The next question is from Mrs. Safinaz Gangu, who's a Mauritian.
Yes.
She asks, in Surah Lahab,
Yes, please.
in Surah Lahab, does the meaning apply only to Abu Lahab and his wife, or does it apply to the whole world? Can you please elaborate on the subject?
Thankfully, it doesn't apply to the whole world. It only applies to a person of fiery nature, who is rebellious, who is destructive, and who also has a companion who shares these values with him. So this is metaphorical in this sense that whoever is the father of fire, it means that he is not only destructive in his nature like fire is, but he gives birth to fiery people. And as such, his wife promotes this quality or bad habit of the husband, and both together leave a very bad influence on humanity. This is the meaning of Abu Lahab wa imra'atuhu, and his wife. Thank you.
Hazur, with your permission, we have an anonymous question
Please.
from a Sunni Muslim who says
Yes.
it's Mauritian. Two questions, in fact. One, did Jesus die on the cross or not? As the Quran says that he was not killed. I wanted clarification on this. And the second question...
The first question, please. Jesus was attempted to be crucified till he died upon cross. This was only an attempt. But those who crucified him failed to achieve this purpose. And he was taken down from cross while he was still alive. This is our belief. That is why the Holy Quran refers to that incident as ma salabuhu wa ma qataluhu, wa ma qataluhu wa ma salabuhu. They did not murder him and they did not crucify him. Apparently, this means that he was not killed by human hands, either by ordinary murder or by crucifixion. But at the same time, the non-Ahmadis infer from this that even an attempt at his life through crucifixion was not made. We do not agree with this interpretation because he was neither killed through murder nor crucified is followed by the final conclusion of the same verse, which says وَمَا قَتَلُوهُ يَقِينًا. It does not say وَمَا صَلَبُوهُ يَقِينًا. It says they certainly failed to murder him, and the crucifixion is not mentioned, which means murder was only an attempt. Crucifixion was a means of murder, but they failed to achieve the end result, which was killing of Jesus. They could not achieve that. So this is our understanding of the Quranic description, which is fully supported by so many other verses of the Holy Quran, which speak of Jesus' normal death, like the normal death of all of the prophets. So how could they infer from this verse that because he was neither murdered, as they believe, and also nor crucified, so they must have ascended to heaven? This is the reason why they insist on this verse as indicative of the ascent of Jesus Christ. It is not at all indicative of that, because people die natural deaths about whom you can say they were neither crucified nor murdered. And a large majority of people fall into that category. Because you can say about them they were neither murdered nor crucified, do you infer that they must have ascended to heaven? Evidently not. This is an irrational inference which some people try to draw from this verse. Specifically, when the Holy Quran speaks at so many other places positively that Jesus died a normal human death like all the prophets of Allah had died before him. And then regarding the Holy Prophet of Islam, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, using the same expression, the Holy Quran says, Prophet Muhammad was also to die like all other prophets before him. So if he has died, what right have you got to turn back from Islam? So people, all the prophets before him, this expression is exactly the same as applied to in the case of Jesus, which means that all prophets before Jesus died a natural death, so Jesus should also have died a natural death. All prophets before Prophet Muhammad died a natural death, so he should also die a natural death. And evidently, between these two verses, Jesus has no room for living forever or having ascending to or having access to heaven because of what other people infer from the verse which I read before. These two verses do not permit him any other fate than the one which was met by all prophets of Allah, and which fate was that none ascended to heaven, all died here in this world, on this earth, and were buried here. So if this is what is meant by the questioner, then I think I have answered him. Satisfactory or not, it is up to him to judge. But this is a subject which requires a far more detailed answer as well, of which I have spoken before in my various question and answer sessions. So I request the questioner, he may be listening to this, although he remains anonymous, to write to the mosque for such material on this subject, which is far more, which covers much greater ground regarding all the issues and areas which relate to this question. Thank you.
His second question related to why we believe that the Holy Prophet ﷺ was not the last prophet.
We believe he was the last prophet. Why does he believe that we do not believe? You see, the term last is the term which has to be understood. We believe from the various verses of the Quran read together that the Holy Prophet was the last of law-bearing prophets. And we can prove this contention with the help of so many verses of the Quran. There is no time for me to go into the detail of this issue, but again I refer to him to such material which is audio, video, and also written literature, by reading which or by listening to that material, he can understand our position much better with reference to specific verses of the Holy Quran, including the verse which contains the word Khatam al-Nabiyyin. Thank you.
We have a question from a Mauritian housewife who would like to remain anonymous. She asks, why are Muslims not allowed to be cremated? Cremated, to be burnt after death.
Yes. Because hellfire is promised to evil people. So if people opt for hellfire here, what better results they expect in the hereafter? So it is a sort of warning to people. Don't opt for fire, please. Or the fire which will burn in the hereafter will be far more intense. So burning is altogether discarded. And it is done so not only by Islam. It is the first act of burial which was taught to the children of Adam by let me say, not a divinely revealed order, but by circumstances which indicated that people should be buried. When one of the sons of Adam killed the other, his brother, he was about to leave his corpse open on the ground to be maybe eaten by birds and things, or rot in the open anyway, when he saw a crow which was burying a dead crow. So that struck the idea into the mind of that murderer. He said, woe to me, I can't be even like a crow. So he buried him. And the tradition of burial began from that time. And in all the known religions of the world, of this line at least, burial has always been the treatment of religious people of their dead ones. In Judaism, in Christianity, and in the religions before them, up to the time of Adam, all the religions which are mentioned in the Holy Quran or in the Bible, you will find no reference of their burning their corpses. So we are at one with the religious community of our past. And I hope this new trend of burning or cremating the dead ones will be abandoned by people. It's not a good trend at all. Thank you.
The next question is from Mr. Naeem Lone, who's a Muslim.
Yes, please.
As man advances in terms of technology, does this help or hinder his spiritual well-being?
It can do both. It all depends upon how you employ the technology. Knowledge is neutral. The application is not neutral. When you apply your knowledge for achieving good purposes, it becomes good. If you apply it to achieve bad purposes, it becomes bad. What was the staff of Moses? Any man can kill people with staffs, a powerful stroke of staff. And anyone can employ that staff for the benefit of the life around. Moses employed his staff for this purpose. So the staff was good, but not in its nature, but because the master of that staff was good. So whatever is left at your disposal, employ it to the advantage of mankind, and that is the only influence we can draw from the religious teachings. Thank you.
Next question is from Mr. Roshan Banu, who is an Ahmadi.
Mr. Roshan, yes, please.
With all the natural disasters occurring worldwide, such as earthquakes, global warming, climate change, does this signify the start of a major change for the human race?
These things are happening since times immemorial. And they have always been signifying something, but not a change which you have in mind. They signify changes, of course. Reactions take place to such catastrophes to improve the quality of life, to improve the safety measures and so on. This still goes on. During some great earthquakes recorded in the modern times, many teams were appointed of scientists and other knowledgeable people to try to devise means to protect mankind against the disastrous effects of these earthquakes. So it's an ongoing process. It will happen 1,000 years from now, or it happened many thousands of years in the past as well. So it should be taken as a flow of events which in the final analysis is turned to the advantage of man.
The next question has been asked on behalf of someone who is not here. He goes, a person has no faith or religion. This person has no faith or religion. Once he dreamt of our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and once he dreamt of Bhagwan.
What?
Bhagwan?
Yes?
Yeah. Sometimes he believes there is a God, and sometimes he says that God does not exist. He was convinced that it was the Holy Prophet, although no photographs are available. Can you please provide some guidance for this person who is undecided in matters of faith?
If he is not provided a guidance from Allah, how can I provide that guidance to him myself? Your conviction that the person you see in your dream is the person may be right, may be wrong, because he has not seen the face of the founder of Islam. So how can he judge that the person who appeared to him in his dream was really him? Satan cannot imitate him, but Satan can appear as him while he does not look like him at all. So this tradition of the Holy Prophet is misunderstood. That is why people think that whenever they see someone as the Holy Prophet of Islam, he truly, genuinely represents him. It is impossible, because that someone delivers a message to someone while he delivers a contradictory message to another one. So if in both cases it is the person of Hazrat Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the founder of Islam, then what a strange person he is. He is self-contradictory. He tells someone that believe in the unity of God, and tells another person believe in the Hindu concept of Bhagwan, which has no unity about that concept, which is a concept which is surrounded by other gods. So this is why I say there is no criterion at all. The criterion that he is really the Holy Prophet lies in this person's subsequent behavior towards God. If influenced by that vision, he is led close to God, and this vision transforms his entire pattern of life, then I can believe that he was true in that vision. If he remains wandering away from one thing to another, remains undecided, and falls back to his original ideas of atheism as well, then it's impossible for that vision to be correct. Right? I mean, not you, whoever has asked this question, please. Please.
The next question is a long one from Mr. Isam T. Saleh, who is a Muslim.
Where is he? Yes, yes.
He is an Iraqi teacher at, of postgraduate physics?
Right?
Postgraduate physics.
Very good. Excellent.
His question is, the early Muslims were caught or gripped by the fear of not repeating mistakes of earlier religions, whose holy books were diluted, and some would even say tampered with. However, when this fear turns to paranoia, the religion, in this case Islam, becomes fossilized and unable to cope with the time. What is the balance that Islam should strike between not repeating the mistakes of other religions and that of the urgent demands to tolerate and progress with the times?
See, this, the central point of this question is that Islam, as if it is alone in preaching that you should learn from the mistakes of other religions and should not repeat this. This is not true in the sense that it is not Islam alone which presents this guidance to mankind. Every religion prior to Islam emphasized the same thing, of learning from the mistakes of the past and not repeating them. So to repeat the mistakes does not lie or is not a religious character or character of a religion. It is a human character to repeat the mistakes, however much humans are warned. So unfortunately, to err is human. It is correct in this sense that they go on repeating the same mistakes which their forefathers had committed with disastrous ends. Why did we do it? This should be the question which you must address. They do it because to practice a good moral teaching is an uphill task. It requires labor, constant attention, like moving on or climbing, say, Mount Everest. It requires immense patience and persistence on the part of those who undertake the climbing to the top of the Mount Everest. But to fall from a rock below, down below, is so easy. The gravity pulls people who climb above constantly downwards, and if they make a single faux pas, they will suffer from the consequences. But to go downhill, as I have said, is so easy in the sense that if you follow your desires, then you do not see the consequences of those desires like in the fall from a rock. There the consequences are apparent and can be physically observed and felt. But in the religious world, you follow the downhill path without realizing that it is destroying your spirit, your soul, and the character of your entity as Allah would like to say it. The ultimate identity of person is injured with the passage of time. Now this is observable as well. Although the people fail to take notice of these changes, which are detrimental, they can still be observed by others in so many ways. Imagine looking at the face of a very corrupt police officer who has also been very cruel in his treatment of other human beings. And look at any person's face who is not only, I don't say he has to be Muslim, who is anyone, but who is kindly hearted and gentle and decent. The difference between the two faces will be like two poles. The difference will be immense, which means the injury which such a person, as I have mentioned first, does not notice is still noticeable in the entire personality which is influenced by his conduct. So, as I said, it is a downhill task, this is true, but it is enjoyable also. Sometimes when you run down the hill like children do sometimes, they enjoy, and they do not know that they are losing heights. And to regain heights will be again difficult. So these are the complexities which surround the question, and as far as I could understand the question, this should be the answer. But if there is any other scientific angle to the question, like related to physics, I should like the questioner to clarify this, and then I'll be able to answer that.
Actually, what I meant is, the early Muslims, they had this fear, the fear of repeating the mistake of other religion, which led to some kind of paranoia that fossilized and made us more rigid.
It is there that I say it's not a paranoia. This is what I have explained. This is but human, to learn from the mistakes of others. And this factor of the consciousness of learning from the mistakes of others gives a boost to human progress in every field. Those people whom you think they suffer from this paranoia, they gained from this, because as long as they were aware of other people's mistakes and they took care of not repeating them, they rose to great heights. The moment they ignored this important factor, they began to go down the hill. That is why I explained in detail the two different phenomena. Right? Thank you.
The next question is from Ms. Farzana Banu.
Yes.
She asked, the moon has great significance in Islam. What does Hazur think of scientific experiments involving the moon, for example, exploring or colonizing the moon?
You see, to expand human knowledge and awareness of the surrounding has been mentioned in the Holy Quran in so many ways. And the Holy Quran also speaks of God as constantly expanding this universe. So as man is made after the character of God, this is also one sense of the same expression you find in the Bible and also in the Holy Quran. So man must continue to expand his knowledge of other things as far as possible, to gain experience not only through knowledge but by personal contact. So this we see is happening to us today. The world of God is expanding because it's flying apart from the center of the universe. And the world of human knowledge is expanding because it's gaining such knowledge as his forefathers could never imagine of. And the man's experience is expanding, as nowadays we are hearing the talk of reaching the moon and turning it into a colony, because they have discovered the underwater reserves, the undersurface of the moon reserves of water are immense, and they can support human life in future if it attempts, rightly so I mean, to benefit from the water resources. And this knowledge is now available to man. So there is nothing wrong with this attempt of man which according to the Holy Quran could be condemned as wrong. The Holy Quran promotes these efforts. It does not condemn them. Please.
Only 4 more questions, Hazur.
Yes, please. Yes.
The next
Don't scare me away, please.
The next question.
You're looking at me, Yeah, please.
The next question is from Shabir Gangu, who is a 7-year-old.
Where is the 7-year-old? Is he here? Yes. Oh, yes. Please.
He asks, we are usually invited to take part in Christmas celebrations at school. How far can we celebrate with our Christian friends?
You can celebrate any religious ceremony, whether it's Christian or Jewish or any other, as long as you are not required to participate in any acts which are contrary to the unity of God and which in themselves are condemned by the Holy Quran or the conduct of the Holy Prophet. So be careful not to participate in those acts. Otherwise, you can invite non-Muslim friends to your ceremonies and make them enjoy and share your enjoyment, and you can share their enjoyment with the condition, as I have just mentioned, that you should be very careful not to participate in idolatrous practices or any practices which are squarely condemned by Islam. Thank you. You understand? The little boy? Very good. Very intelligent boy, mashallah. He said, I have understood the question.
The next question is from the daughter of Mrs. Masuda Bidasi, who is Mauritian. Why are the doors of hell closed and Satan chained in the month of Ramadan?
I have spoken on this subject during my sermons delivered during Ramadan, and it took me 1 hour at least to explain this issue, and not only once, many a time during many Ramadan I have explained the issue with reference to other angles of the same question. So it will be impossible for me to deal with this question now and here, but I would again request the questioner to have access to our department here,
Yes,
audio video department, and they will lead the questioner to such audios and videos which contain the answer to this question. But one thing I must tell you, the doors of hell are not closed for everyone, because the hellish practices go on during the month of Ramadan, even in the Muslim world. So this concept of physically shutting the doors is absolutely wrong, and it does not emerge from the from the sayings of the Holy Prophet and the practice of the Holy Prophet of Islam.
The next question is from Mrs. Masuda Bidasi herself. She asks, is there any mention in the Holy Quran or the Hadith to say that the Holy Prophet ﷺ, his Mi'raj or journey to heaven, was in soul only, or was it soul and body? She says,
yes, I understood the question, and I have understood it very clearly, because this question has been addressed to me, or this question has been asked of me so many times before. The physical Mi'raj cannot take place. The material Miraj is impossible to have taken place. Because, according to the Holy Quran, God was with him where Prophet Muhammad was. And he himself took him to some destination. So was he going to see God at the end of the journey while the God was him all the time? So it positively shows that the Quranic treatment of the subject is metaphorical. And his body could not have moved in the direction of a spirit which surrounded him. According to the Holy Quran, God is all around us, above and below and right and left and front and back. Whichever way we turn, we see God. So in which direction should he have flown? Whichever physical direction he had taken, he was moving away from the rest of God. And moving in the direction of one point in God, while abandoning all the God which surrounded him. So this concept is so naive that when you understand its naivety, you know positively that it's not just naive, it's extremely stupid. It cannot happen. So the physical ascent of the Holy Prophet is only a matter of the unfortunate, ignorant mullahs and masses who do not know the nature of God at all, who do not pay attention to the verses of the Holy Quran which refer to this ascent. Now in the end, to be very brief, I'll quote just one verse and invite the attention of the questioner to the message of that verse. The Holy Quran, in the same story of the ascent of the Holy Prophet, says, Ma kadabal fuado mara. The heart or the mind did not tell lies about what the mind saw, not the eyes, but the mental image, the image of the heart, the faculty of heart and mind. They saw something which means a vision, not the physical sighting of God, but the vision of humans can imagine anything. But what the Holy Prophet imagined was not wrong. That was true. Because in that journey, the so-called physical journey which we believe was spiritual, many things were prophesied which came to be true. So with the unfolding of subsequent events, this verdict of the Quran is proved right. That whatever his mind saw, the eyes of his heart saw, was correct. Because what he saw and related in relation to the future of Islam was proved true by the future events. So this is in a nutshell the answer, the substance of the answer which I have been giving before, but more detailed answers with reference to many other verses have also been given, and I hope the person will have access to these cassettes. Thank you. Yes, please.
This question is from Nusrat Kalashi, I think, who is an Ahmadi from Kosovo.
Kosovo, yes, I know, yes. Please.
Why do non-Ahmadi Muslims not accept Ahmadis as Muslim?
We never say that non-Ahmadi Muslims are non-Muslims. We never say that.
Sorry,
Why do non-Ahmadis call us non-Muslim?
The opposite.
Yes.
You should ask them. As far as I am concerned, I have made it very clear that we never refer to the non-Ahmadi Muslims as non-Muslims. Our terminology is very clear. We always say they are non-Ahmadi Muslims, and also they are non-Muslims. So we do not attribute to them any claim which they do not possess. We are absolutely right and rational in our attitude. But at the same time we believe that their concept of Islam, which guides their path here in this world, is erroneous. So they cannot be genuinely be referred to be Muslims in the sight of God. Because if you are a genuine Muslim, then you should not differ from each other, and we should remain united. So this is in a nutshell my answer to this question if it were addressed to me. But you should address this question to non-Ahmadis. Why do they refer to us as non-Muslims? We profess to be Muslims. We claim to be Muslims. And this fundamental human right must be permitted to be shared by Ahmadis. It's fundamental human right, particularly in the light of the conduct of the Holy Prophet of Islam, which is also mentioned in the Holy Quran. It never happened in the lifetime of the Holy Prophet that he addressed someone who claimed to be Muslim as non-Muslim. Never once. Despite the fact that Allah had told him that these so-called Muslims are not Muslims in reality. They have no faith. Despite this knowledge bestowed upon him by God himself, he was not authorized by God to address them as non-Muslim as long as they address themselves to be Muslims. So the profession of a faith is the fundamental human right, which must not be violated. If it was not violated by the Holy Prophet ﷺ, even once during his lifetime, how could the mullahs of today have access to this right which was not granted to the Holy Prophet himself? You understand? So I have answered the second part of your question as well, that they have no right to do so. Now you can ask them why, despite having no right, they should continue to refer to us as non-Muslims. Thank you.
So the final question is from Shahid Banu, who asks something about the sea, which is very apt for Mauritius. He has remarked that at about midnight, the sea becomes quiet and there are no sounds of waves. Can Huzur give an explanation for this occurrence?
Very interesting. Eh? The seas become calm at a certain time. Now this must have happened because of the changing of wind directions and the pause in between. The stir in the waves is most often caused by the winds, also by the natural phenomenon of gravitation of Earth and the gravitation of Moon, which are exerted from the opposite sides. But in between there can be pauses in both, whereby the forces acting upon the sea surrounding Mauritius can be equalized by the forces acting in the opposite direction. And so also the wind can drop to a standstill at times. So this is a very interesting phenomenon if it happens in Mauritius and around surrounding Mauritius. But when I went there, I didn't notice it myself. Strangely, I missed it somehow. Thank you. Last? Good. So, I sat with you as long as you desired and as long as the Christians wanted me to stay with you. Now it's time for me to get ready for other work. So, with that I take leave of you. God bless you. Thank you for this very interesting session together. Thank you. And you are next door neighbor, our next door neighbor. If you ever feel like coming here, our doors are always open to you. Thank you.
MTA International, reaching the corners of the earth.